Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a beautiful Monday with us on Live with Lloyd. I am your host, astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn. Boy, do I have a special treat for you today. And I don't mean sweet treats. I'm talking about the treats in terms of knowledge and wisdom and understanding for better health and nutrition that should make you and your family a whole lot healthier by the end of the year. This is a month. In fact, this is a very sugar addicted nation, but we'll be talking about all of that first. But before I bring them on, let me let you know. Hold on, let me do this. Okay. So, one thing about my live shows, they're always live. It's like just the emphasis on doing things. Of course, it's a live by experience thing. But first, before we do that, let me do the forecast that I do. Today is Monday, there's the 20th. The sun is in Libra, the moon is in Libra. So actually, it's a new moon. But what's interesting, on Wednesday, the moon will be in Scorpio, the sun will be in Scorpio. So it's going to be like a double new moon today and then on Wednesday, too. But nonetheless, it's a one universal month, a 4 week, a 3 universal day. So those who happen to be Pisces and Sagittarius, or if you're born on the 3rd, 12th, 21st, or 30th of the month, well, it's your time, okay? Now, I'd like to bring to my sponsors, which is Manifest on Purpose with Miss Kimberly, was the author of the book that just been published, The Business of Numerology. Also, she's now added a companion to it too. But if you go to Amazon, order her book, leave a review, take a screenshot and email it to her. She will send you a report, especially for business persons. To my good buddy, King Simon, of course, he's having a special celebration coming up November 15th and 16th. I think I will be there on Sunday the 16th to help him celebrate all the wonderful years he's done what he does. Then I want to thank Monique of Nicholas, Brooklyn, celebrating over 50 years. I was out there yesterday. It's very nice. She has the most fantastic energy. God bless her. And on this Friday, she is going to have Brother Haru. The brother's brilliant. I had him on my show before, but to see him do a lecture is absolutely amazing. Then also to Uchenna, Dr. Uchenna Hackett, that's gotten his book. In fact, if you go to Amazon, his book, I think his ebook is like zero for nothing. So make sure you download his book. It's an amazing, he's developed concepts that I've never seen before. So I think that's good. Also to Melinda Valentine, her numeralytics, she is offering her services. You see there at the bottom of the screen. Her number is 302-492-7722. And also, when you get this, I think you get a discount, especially when you order her books. Right now, we're in the element of air. So she's wrote a book for all, reflecting all 4 seasons. Also, another sponsor is Recept. And if you click on the code, you'll get a 35% discount. They act as your receptionist. They take your calls and whatnot. And then on the very first week of Monday, that's the 5th, I believe, the 5th, that's Wednesday, I'm going to bring on Jazz Aphrodite and Brother Eric talking about the workshop they're going to have on that Saturday, November the 8th, okay? So with all that being said, I do want to bring on my very special guest. I'm going to bring them both on the same time because they're a mother and a daughter. But let me tell you what happened. I was doing a conversation with Janice. Janice was telling me about the way she raised her family. And, well, I'll let her talk for herself. First, I'm going to bring Janice on, and then I'll bring her daughter on, too. Janice, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you so much, Lloyd. I appreciate this opportunity.
Well, you know what's interesting? I don't think people realize how valuable their health is until they get sick. And then it's almost next to impossible to recover it. Not only that, very expensive. A lot of people have actually gone bankrupt trying to get their health back.
Yeah.
And it seems like once you lost it, it's hard. But what fascinated me about you was you said how you raised your 3 children. which is absent of sugar. How in the world do you do that in this country?
How do you do it? You decide that that's your choice. Um, I was not that popular in that decision,
I
obviously.
guess so.
Um, I was raising my kids in the 70s, and back in the 70s, sugar was it. I mean, we didn't know then, or most people didn't know then what we know now about the harmful aspects of sugar. I did, based on my educational background and science, and having read several books, I understood, children are very, very susceptible to excess amounts of sugar, and it impacts them in a very dangerous way. And so I decided, my husband and I both agreed that we would severely limit the amounts of sugar that we expose them to. So I proceeded. I'm an avid cook, and spent a lot of time in the kitchen, and decided to rework a lot of the childhood recipes, the little things that kids love, and I sort of reworked them in a way where the sugar was not the main star. So I'll
That's
give you an
interesting.
example. I'll give you an example. Kool-Aid. Everybody used to drink Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
little Kool-Aid packets, and you throw in a whole cup of sugar.
Oh no, we did more than that. Okay, but go
Yeah,
right
but
ahead.
right. Well, I didn't deprive them of Kool-Aid. I mean, everybody loved Kool-Aid, but I used a third of a cup, half a cup of sugar, right?
Hmm.
And gradually reduced even that amount as time went on, so that their tolerance for sugar stayed low. Because most people don't realize the more sugar you consume, the higher your tolerance becomes for it. And so you need more and more
Really?
and more
That's
to
like an
get that
addiction.
same sensation of something being sweet. Your taste buds adjust. So something that was normal tasting sweet for them would have been sour almost for other kids,
That's
right?
amazing. Go ahead.
So yeah, I just I never really bought into the whole processed food thing. I was a home cook, but I did like to bake, and so they did get treats. I baked cookies with reduced sugar. I make, pies, um, and adjust the ingredients so that it was still very tasty, but not so much sugar. And so by doing that, again, their taste buds were adjusted. And as adults now, what you'll see is that they're all extremely healthy. Um, do not consume large amounts of sugar or processed food. So I say all that to say that go back to your question. It's a matter of decision. It's deciding that I want to not have my child become a sugar addict. Then the question becomes, how do I do that?
Well, we're going to talk about that more because really, when you think about it, Janice, you can't go anywhere, whether it's checking out, especially at the checkout in department stores or whatever,
Yeah,
rows of sugar. I mean, candies. I mean, they make it so abundant. And in fact, the most addictive sugar month is this month now, that's going to be at the end of the month, known as Halloween, where everybody
yeah.
just gets candy. I mean, it's kind of crazy. So how do you do that? So when your daughters or your children were coming up
Mhm.
for Halloween, what did you do for that?
So they got to participate in Halloween. The only difference was when they came back home with their sack of sugar, um, it was confiscated for the most part. And they weren't allowed, like most kids, to just take it to their room or consume it at will. That wasn't allowed. So they knew that, first of all, we were going to go through the candy, and certain things were just not allowed at all. And so
Really?
those were off the table. Yeah. The little candy corns. Yeah, no, off the table completely.
Kids love
um,
those though.
and you know, they all had their favorite piece of candy or kind of candy. And if
Hmm.
it was one that was allowable, okay, but they got one piece a day.
That
They
was
were
it.
allowed, that was it. That was it. And one piece of candy a day from your goodie bag, um, until it was gone. And so I'll be honest with you, a lot of times they never made their way through all of it. You know,
That's
they would get to
interesting.
like the middle of November or whatever, and they were done with it. So yeah, the fun. Let's face it, the fun of it was, you know, going out and doing the trick or treat thing.
And the
Um,
costumes and whatnot. But when it came home with all that candy, that's when y'all whittle it all down to whatever. And one candy a day. That's
they got
interesting.
one. Yeah, they could choose whichever piece from their bag that they wanted to, each day, and they could have it after dinner or on weekends. They could have it, you know, when they went out to play or whatever. But yeah, you get one piece a day.
So no wonder you wasn't too popular with your neighbors.
No, well, most people, it was really like family, like, you know, their grandmother was, you know, she wanted to be grandma, and sugar
Yeah.
was not, she enjoyed her sugar. And so I was not very popular in her book in that sense, because she knew that if, you know, and she did have, them sometimes on the weekends, and, you know, she knew the rules. The rules were sugar is almost non-existent, and she knew exactly what was allowed and what wasn't.
Well, before I bring bring one of your children on that's very much into the scientific field and holistic health consultant, how did you tend to really go without the whole what is so bad about sugar? Because you know, I'll hear people say, "Oh, I got a sweet tooth,"
Yeah.
this, that, and the other. But what do you say?
Yeah, I'll be first to tell you, as a child, I was a sugar addict. I loved my candy. Yeah. Um, it is more addictive than cocaine. Let that sink
Mm,
in for a minute. It is more addictive than cocaine. And you know, you can, you know, Google it. It's a fact. To detox from sugar, people go through real detox symptoms, and it basically rots you from the inside out is what it does.
really?
It's a foreign substance, processed sugar. Now I'm not talking about, you know, natural like fruit sugar, but processed sugar, white sugar, is a foreign substance, and your body figures out what to do with it the best way it can, but there's a lot of collateral damage that happens. And I'll let, you know, Tracie, my daughter, speak
In
to
fact,
the,
I'm about I'm about to bring her on now too.
yeah.
Tracie, hi, how you doing?
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
First of all, Tracie is a holistic health consultant. How would you describe that, Tracie, when you say, because people know the word holistic, but do they really understand what holistic mean? Um, and so explain.
Sure. First off, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well.
All right. And thank you again for having me on. I enjoyed hearing Mom's, everything she just said was true, first of all.
How did you manage though? Because sugar is so addictive and they make it so promotionally, it's like the greatest things is ice cream and this, that, and the other, and everything has. And I'm surprised too, ladies, that if you look at some of these canned goods, a lot of it has sugar in it too.
Everything. Just about everything has sugar. How we managed was just what she said, is because we didn't, when you don't get it early on, you don't, you adjust to not being familiar with it. So, yeah, we kind of wanted to be like our friends a little bit and try to cheat, and
Sure.
try to sneak some candy. But we knew because she drilled it in us the importance of not having too much sugar that we were almost a little bit scared to overindulge. It's just like when people give their children candy so early, their taste buds, like she said, adjust to it, and so they want more and more and more, and their body just it's addicting. So because she didn't introduce us to it and she fed us nutrient dense foods, our bodies were more satisfied from an early age with what she was giving us, that reduced our cravings. But to go back and answer your question, holistic nursing. So holistic coaching pretty much is, or holistic nursing, it's just the whole body. It's addressing more than just symptoms, more than just a diagnosis. It's helping someone to address and heal from or nurture the whole being, which can be spiritual, it can be emotional, it can be relationship wise. It has to do with movement, movement in the body, the energy in the, so it's because all of those things affect your health. And so in the traditional healthcare system that I quickly as a nurse realized kind of wasn't conducive to addressing the whole body. That's where my mind kind of shifted because of how she raised us and how, you know, I know someone needs to heal. They kind of just, address the symptoms, patch it up, give you some medication, and send you on your way in most cases. And I'm not knocking the system. I mean, I still work in it. I understand it and it's good for certain things. We need medicine, but when it comes to chronic disease, there's a different approach that needs to happen. And so I just help coach people through shifting and making those long-term lifestyle changes by addressing the whole being instead of just
But they make sugar so attractive in terms of its packaging, its whole projection, especially in about the end of this month, as I said, with Halloween. So yes, they got the costumes, which is to me that's like in front of the stage, but behind the stage is all that sugar that children will be consuming. And Janet, you said one thing that was very important before we started, that if they could be if between 0, 1, the time they're born through 7 years old, there's something about that development. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, everything, just about everything that makes up who you are takes place in the first 7 years of your life. There's an old saying that says, if you give me a human for the first 7 years of their life, and I'll hand you the man. That's who that person becomes. The man or woman is a subset of who they were, what they were exposed to in the first 7 years of their life. And so that goes for health as well. And I mean, this is all stuff that you can Google. It's no secret.
Yeah, don't take your word for it, right?
Yeah, don't take my word for it. I know from raising 3 kids, I know that those first 7 years set the stage for where they are right now. I know that without a doubt. So yeah, it's kids, and Tracie, you can speak to this more from a scientific standpoint, but a child's development physically happens over that 7-year period. They're not fully developed, really, physically, until they're about 7 or 8. And even some things beyond that don't happen until preteen years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in those developmental stages, you are going to make decisions for your children because they're not old enough to make those decisions for themselves. So you have to be the parent and understand that, no, there are certain things that your child is going to want to do and eat and be exposed to that is not in their best interest and is not not going to sustain them and nurture them through life, right? I tell people all the time, because people ask me, a similar question: how did you do that,
Yeah.
with 3 kids? And what I tell them is I understood what was at stake, right? I understood the assignment. You're gifted with a human being, that comes into this realm. And your job, the only thing that you're supposed to do is make sure that as you shepherd them into adulthood, that you do it in such a way that they will be an asset to humanity. That's what it's about. And,
Well, you're way ahead of the curve, Janice. Let me tell you, because we're not. And they use our children to really, because the children will have a fit. Because I've seen when the parents are going checking out in these department stores, the young children, they always said it at their height too. It's not at the adult height, it's at their height.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I went through that. I did. But here's okay. You mentioned that a couple times, so let me just speak to that. Right, the whole supermarket. And Tracie's smiling because she knows where I'm going with this. I had to deal with that as well. The little one in the cart, seeing the sugary cereal on the shelf that they want, but you pick up the sugar, the unsweetened Cheerios, right? But they want the sugar frosted flakes. And then, the kicking and the screaming and all of that going on.
Yeah, it's almost
right?
embarrassing to a parent, and they do that to appease them, right?
Well, I just didn't. First of all, I coached my children a lot before we went into the store. Right? There was certain protocols that they knew, and it was all age appropriate. I mean, I didn't put demands on them at 4 and 5 years old as I did when they were 8 or 9. Right? Age appropriate sort of guardrails for when we go into the supermarket, knowing that they're going to want the candy, knowing that they're going to want things that I'm not going to buy. I let them know in advance. We're not buying those things. You don't understand now why, but you will eventually. So here's what we are going to buy. But I always allowed them something that they wanted that sort of hedged the bets. In other words, it wasn't totally, health food. They may get one of the little, one of the little lollipops, the little small ones.
Yeah.
Right?
Teeny tiny ones, yeah.
Yeah, the little teeny tiny ones that they used to give out. Remember when you go to the bank and they would hand it through the window to, if they saw a child in the car?
Yeah.
They may get one of those. But it wasn't a given. You weren't eating it right away. And you had to do something when you got home to qualify to get that lollipop. Right? The lollipop went in my purse. Yes, you got this lollipop. I know you want it, but we're going to hold off on that. So it was a lot of coaching and that I did with my kids. And I had the falling out in the floor. That happened. But I'm going to tell you, Lloyd, it happened one time.
That's interesting.
It never happened again.
Mom,
Tracie.
so I want to speak to. I
was going to drag you into this, Tracie. Go right ahead. You must be on the same page.
I just have. She knows we have these conversations almost every day, like just of different topics and different our thoughts. And so one of the things I want to throw back at her, or like a question, is for those like adults or parents who maybe didn't grow up like that. We talk about that, like you made that decision, and you said it earlier. It comes with a decision. It's the same thing with making health changes, and I know that with my clients. If you haven't decided that you want to live different, it's not going to happen, because it starts with that and the decision that no matter how hard it gets, no matter, that this is what you want and the reason is so big that you're going to do it. So for those parents who maybe didn't grow up like that and that it was not easy for them to just make that decision, what would you say, like, would you recommend them to work on themselves? Because a lot of adults are not showing their children those habits, right? They are eating the candy, they're eating the carbs in the morning and all the things. So I think it's hard, a little bit more challenging for some of them to then set those boundaries and stuff with their kids when the kids are watching them. So do you recommend them to work on themselves, or how do they go about doing that when they weren't raised like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's sort of do as I say and not as I do, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
I decided just to be sort of like a role model. We just didn't have that stuff in the house. So my kids didn't see me and their father eating a lot of junk, right? It just wasn't there. And if it was in very small quantities. So to answer that question, I would say, yeah, the easiest way to make changes with a child that has a sugar addiction is for that parent or caretaker, grandparent, whoever is around that child and is feeding that child meals and is eating with that child. Yes, you have to take it upon yourself to at least make an attempt to change your habits, because children hear what you say, but more so than that, they watch what you do.
Mhm.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. A lot of children were taught, well, smoking is no good for you, as they light up their fifth, sixth cigarette for the day. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? How do you justify that? How do you explain that? But now that leads me to a question with you, Janice. If you said you were addicted to sugar, what brought about the change? So by the time you married and had and raised your children, you were on a whole different paradigm with that.
I love that question. Um, I'm going to tell you exactly what it was. I, uh, from the time I graduated college and got my first job, by the way, I worked in New York. We were living in New Jersey, and I worked in New York for the first 3-4 years. I worked at, used to be called Columbia College of Physicians and Surgeons. It's now, I think, Andrew Weil Medical Center.
Mm-hmm,
Uh,
mm-hmm.
but while I was working there, so before I had children, um, I read a book, and I was really into health and wellness at that point already. And I read a book called Diet for a New America. Diet for a New America. And that book really drove home for me the dangers of sugar, how insidious and just sneaky it is. Yeah. And so that's after I read that book, I decided, first of all, that I was going to change myself, because up until that point, I was still, yeah, I love my sweets, and my sweets of choice was ice cream. I was an ice cream fanatic. I was
Mm-hmm.
addicted to ice cream. I ate it just about every night.
Wow.
And
What was
so
the name of that book again, Janice?
it was called Diet for a New America. I can't remember the the gentleman's name who wrote that book. I
Well, they can
also
get it
from
on
that book.
Amazon, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it's a classic. It's a classic.
Diet for a New
Um,
America. Mm-hmm.
Diet for a New America. Um, Also, from the knowledge I learned from that book, I eventually became a vegetarian for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that was the turning point for me. Again, it was a decision. I read it. Um, I have a very scientific mind. Sometimes it works in my favor, sometimes it doesn't. But my undergraduate degree is in biology and biological science with a minor in chemistry. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I I put then and still do a lot of weight on scientific evidence. And the evidence even then was clear. Sugar is one of the most damaging things you can put in your body, processed sugar. So I just went cold turkey. I'm gonna be honest with you. I went cold turkey. I
What are the dangers of sugar? People say, well, it's dangerous, it's addictive. What does it do to the body that is not good, although it makes it so attractive? And advertising wise, and you know what I'm saying? So whether it's
Well, then,
pies or
yeah,
cakes,
I'm gonna let
cookies.
Tracy address
Uh,
that.
Okay, good, Tracy. So, of course, how do you explain it to your patients where they say, "Are you serious? My daughter likes this candy. My son likes this candy." What? How do you guide them or explain to them the dangers of sugar, and what are they?
well, I mean, just like Mom said, it anything that you put in your body that it sees as foreign causes your body starts almost attacking itself, right? So it causes inflammation, and we know that inflammation is really the root of most diseases. So when you continue to put sugar in it, let's just talk about insulin resistance, right? So I don't know, most people don't realize almost 90% of America is insulin resistance. They have some type of metabolic insufficiency, I should say, meaning that their hormones are not in balance, and it's causing inflammation, right? It's causing this disease process to where their cells cannot function properly. And it comes from what we eat and our environment too, but sugar, and high sugar and high carb intake. And so what that does is, like, for example, when people wake up and they're drinking Starbucks, first thing in the morning, or coffee with sugar, or pancakes and the donuts and the bagels and all the carbs, dumping that sugar and amount of carbs in your body first thing in the morning when you're breaking a fast, it throws your cortisol, your insulin, all things on a roller coaster, right? All the hormones, they start going on a roller coaster. And so when you have that, and especially when you're eating larger portions and sugar and all of that, your pancreas kicks out a lot of insulin to try to deal with the sugar and get it into the cells, right? So over time, of course, your body is a very smart machine. But if we keep doing that, which is the way most of us, live in early on and over time, that's why we start seeing diabetes around 30, 40. It's coming earlier now, but around 30s, 40s, people start noticing that they're diabetic or pre-diabetic, because over time your pancreas just cannot do what it needs to do, your hormones cannot do what it needs to do, and the body gets tired. So the sugar and the carbs, it causes chronic condition, and that inflammation leads to high blood pressure, diabetes, pretty much almost everything, because it's like a snowball.
Now, I
Um,
do want to ask you a question, Tracy. That common words I hear is inflammation. What
yeah.
does that mean to the layperson?
Oh, so it's just like your body, like it's almost like when you get a cut, on your skin, and your body kind of, your cells rush to that area to try to repair it. It just means that the body is, not able to, the cells are not able to function, because there's um, something in there that's foreign, that's causing an abnormal attack on whatever, either the cells or the tissue. Um, so it's just,
Does inflammation also has a connection to do with the joints? Like a person can't open a jar or hold something without their having pain. Is that part of what inflammation is
like
included too?
arthritis, joint issue, joint pain, back pain. It's usually something in that area that is causing an abnormal response or an inflammatory response, either in the tissues or the joints.
Now,
Um,
when you say carbs, what does that mean? Because people hear about carbs, but
Yeah, that's true. That's a good question. So there's simple carbs and there's complex carbs. So when you say carbs, it could mean either or. So like a simple carb would be like, like processed stuff like breads, pastas. Complex
well, that's a
carbs,
lot of those.
yeah, like all the, processed junk is like a simple carb. And that shoots your blood sugar up shoots your sugar up pretty quickly, but your body processes simple carbs fast. So it shoots up, and you know how you like get tired, like if you eat like pasta or bread and you feel like you're gonna, be sleepy after.
Yeah, yeah, you need to lay down.
Yeah, and we need carbs because it's for energy, right? But you get that boost of energy, but then it drops real fast, right? And that's what makes you sleepy, because now the sugar has dropped. Your pancreas is like kicking out insulin, trying to but it's overworked and then it crashes. The way to stabilize the sugar and not have that effect is you eat more complex carbs, which would be like something with fiber. So, spinach or greens or an apple or something like that. So complex carbs has more fiber, fiber in it that breaks down much slower in the body. So you don't have that spike response, or I guess more dramatic response.
Tracy, I've heard now there's so-called juvenile diabetes,
Yeah.
that people younger than ever before have diabetes already.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
It's and it so, sometimes it's strong genetic. There's different things. Similar to, like, I was a dialysis nurse like a year out of school, and this kind of is what triggered my drive for preventive wellness and trying to more so support people on a long term to like change their lifestyle, because I didn't realize that people, like, I had 20-year-olds that were on dialysis.
Wow, really?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's kids on dialysis, but the majority of the higher rate of people that are on dialysis is from poorly controlled diabetes and hypertension. That's the main thing. Poorly controlled or not managed diabetes and hypertension. Main things. Because what happens is it damages those arteries that go to the kidney when you have that pressure is so high, and when you have too much sugar in your blood, it deposits in those arteries that supply oxygenated blood to the kidney. So the cells in the kidney die off, and they don't function, and that's how you get rid of waste. That's how you get rid of water. So those people end up needing a machine to actually get rid of waste and water, fluid for them. And so seeing people so young. Now, sometimes they can't help it. Sometimes it might be an injury that they had. You can have renal failure or kidney failure from, maybe a congenital, maybe they were born with some type of defect with their kidney. So you do have kids that are on dialysis for
That's
different
amazing.
reasons.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
sometimes it could be a medication that they had to get high dose of that messed up their kidneys or whatever. But majority, it's from chronic, conditions. So those are the things when you say what can sugar do, it can cause disease, and those diseases lead to amputations and neuropathy and just a really struggled lifestyle.
I
So
heard the word neuropathy. What does that mean, Tracy?
sorry, yes. So it's like nerve pain. So it
That's
could be
what it is. Nerve pain. Right. Okay.
numbing. It's a damage of the nerves in your extremities. So it can, a lot of times in your feet, it can be in your hands. Diabetics get it a lot, or people who have vascular disease and they don't have good blood flow to their extremities. The nerves kind of die off. And so, yeah. So there's a lot of different effects that we see from diabetes. Is my number one passion, because and many times it's preventable, and it's through lifestyle. And if
But I
people,
heard there's a lot of money being made on these. What is AO1C? I hear about all these things. What does that mean? Is that diabetic related? My
A1,
A1C or
yeah. Yeah,
AO?
your A1C is your 3-month average of your blood sugars. So, like when you get your blood work at the doctor, they're going to see what your chemical balance is. They draw certain labs, and it shows what the balance is in your blood at that time. And one of those things is glucose. So it's going to, they'll be able to see what your sugar is in your blood at that time. Now, the A1C is a little different because there's a part of the cell that kind of lingers in the blood for up to 90 days. So it shows a 90-day average of your sugar. That's what the A1C is. So it's
I've
not.
always had a question, and I do want to ask you,
Yeah.
Tracy. When a patient is in the hospital, every morning they come and take your blood. Why do they do that? Seem like why you got to do that? See, I don't like my blood being drawn. So, I mean, I take it personal. See, I would give the doctors a hard way to go. They probably want not to. have me there. Why do they do that every morning?
Well, when you're acutely ill, your levels can change, so they have to monitor and make sure that you're stable before they discharge you. So it depends on what you're there for. So let's say for some reason this past weekend, I literally had 6 patients that all were anemic, like, and needed transfusion. It was the weirdest thing. Every patient that came in had some type of anemia and they needed transfusion. Now, I don't do patient care, but I monitor my patients because I help them to discharge. But I
Anemia
just,
means what, Tracie?
low blood count, low red
Okay.
blood cell. Yeah, and that could be
Okay.
caused by different things like bleeding, or um, they could have iron deficiency or different imbalances. But something like that, they will give you blood, but then they'll have to keep checking your blood work, to make sure that your levels, that the blood they gave you are coming up. So there's a lot of blood draws, in the hospital.
This is most interesting having a conversation with you ladies, because right after Halloween comes what? Thanksgiving,
Oh
then
yeah.
what? Christmas, then
Mm,
what? The celebration for the new year. So it's like about a
yeah.
90-day period of just,
Yeah.
does that explain why our health benefits are so, I mean, not the benefits, but the consequences of our health is so affecting this country?
Yeah, we see a lot of patients come in during the holiday, ones that have uh, kidney issues and heart failure, liver issues, things like that. And because they are drinking more, and they're cheating a little bit more, right? So they're, because people who have renal issues, they're usually on a fluid restriction, or kidney issues. They usually, they're and heart failure. They usually cannot drink. They have like a restriction. Most of them, where they can't drink enough fluid because their body doesn't get rid of fluid. So
Mhm.
during the holiday, sometimes they just start cutting up, and they're cheating a little bit more. That fluid builds up, and so they end up in the hospital. So
But it
it's
makes
hard.
sense to me, because a lot of the things on media is all promoting good times. And yet sometimes it's the loneliest time of the year. But if you start looking at the commercials for Thanksgiving, it's always holidays and turkey and this, that, and the other. But yet some people are most loneliest. So I just think it's interesting. But what is renal? You mentioned the word renal. What does that mean?
The kidneys.
The
It's
kidneys. Okay. Okay. I'm going to switch your mom a second, because I have a very important question at the bottom of this screen.
oh
Janice, it says, how can we detox our body from eating so much sugar? Because you did the example yourself from reading that book
Yeah.
that you're going to mention again before we get off. Or
Yeah.
maybe my moderator will. What's the name of that book, so my moderator can put it on the?
I mean, it's called Diet for New America.
Okay, good.
It's again, it's a pretty old book. It was, I think, published back in the 60s or 70s.
That's along with that other book called Sugar Blues.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much literature out there.
I don't know the book that you gave me.
For that people, but most people today don't read books, Lloyd. They don't read, and that's a bit of a problem.
Can
Um,
I can I share this book that you gave me, Ma? Did you
Yes,
send
hold
it?
on one second. Let me boot this back. Okay, let me do you. Okay.
Oh, real quick, and then she can answer. But I wanted
Yes.
to, Mom, do you remember this book?
oh my gosh, yeah,
So this was the first nutrition, well, I guess wellness book I read. Mom gave it to me. It is so great. It's not specific to sugar, but it talks about a lot of things that we don't think about outside of just eating. Like, people think it's just, the food that we're eating. Oh, we need to eat more vegetables. We need to, but this talks about like how we're eating and how our body responds to, um, you know, the other things that we do. So it talks about pleasure, energy, weight loss, and other things you can do. I like it because it gives you, gives you steps at the end of each chapter.
That's
Like,
great. Thanks for showing that. Yeah.
yeah. So you can try to, okay, Mom. So what do you do for what should they do to detox?
so the detox protocol is going to be based on how deeply you're addicted to sugar. Um, you literally have to put together a program so that you don't go into what do they call that when an addict is withdrawal. Yeah, you don't want to have to go through that, but you have to, so you have to do it very slowly. Withdrawal symptoms are not fun. And so the answer to that question of what can you do, the first thing you can do is start looking closely at what it is that you're eating to find all the sources of sugar that you're consuming, right? And then one by one, figure out the ones that you can easily eliminate, right, without too much of a problem. And then find replacements for whatever it is you're taking away. If you're, my theory is, if you're going to take something away, find a replacement for it that is healthy, right? So, like I said, with the the Kool-Aid, they still got Kool-Aid, but they just got a reduced sugar version of it. And sometimes I would use honey as opposed to processed sugar, right? So you if you really want to do it, it's a long-term thing. It's not something that you can do in a week or 2 weeks, depending upon how strongly you're addicted to it. Don't be a hero and try and go cold turkey if you have a real sugar addiction, because you're setting yourself up for failure. Because at some point you're going to feel so bad that you're going to go grab the bag of cookies. I hate to say it, but it's
And then
true.
once you do that, it's over. You just go deeper.
You got, well, yeah, you got to go back to square one. So do it the easy way. It's a longer way, but ultimately it's the easier way, because you won't shoot yourself in the foot and get discouraged and say, what the heck? That's to be avoided at all costs, because you want to stay on that detox path. And this is where a little bit of coaching comes in, because over 40 years, I've learned a lot of really good hacks. You know how they talk about biohacking. And I learned a lot of it through my kids and my grandkids. I have now 5 grandchildren. And when the grandchildren came along, I had to update my strategies for health and wellness to suit the current day. And so, yeah, you need somebody to walk with you, at least in the beginning phase of that detox, so that you're comfortable. You're still making progress, but you're comfortable.
Well, can you take a couple of minutes to tell me how you wean yourself off without?
Well, I'll be honest. Like I told you, I did go cold turkey.
Mm-hmm.
I did, when I read that book and looked at, I actually did exactly what I just said. I looked at, my sugar addiction. And first of all, you have to admit that you have an addiction.
That's like in all things, whether it's alcohol, drugs, anything.
Yeah. I realized I didn't think I did before I read that book. But I realized and had to admit that, yeah, girl, you're addicted to sugar.
Well, they make these sugars so natural, and it's in everything practically.
It is, and it tastes good, for goodness sake. It tastes good. So I went cold turkey, and I won't say I went cold turkey. I completely eliminated the ice cream, because that was the thing that was primarily my addiction. I couldn't go to bed at night without that little cup of ice cream. So I eliminated that cold turkey. And then I worked realizing that some of the other things that I was consuming were way loaded with sugar. I just sort of gradually, little bit, but I guess it took me 2 months to get to the point where I considered that my sugar intake was low. Right? I got down to low. I don't think, especially in today's world, I don't think you can get to no sugar.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
Unless you're
what
on
do you mean by that?
In other words, if you're just on a water fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
is pretty much the only way that you can say that you are sugar free. Even people that go on a juice fast, right? That's not sugar free. Now, there are ways to do a sugar fast so that your body thinks that it's sugar free, right? And that you don't get those spikes that Tracie was talking about. And she could speak to that a little bit. But basically, what you want to do if you're on a juice fast is you want to add water to that juice.
Diluted. That's what you're saying.
You dilute it. Yes. Concentrated fruit juices are not really good for you.
Mhm.
They're
There's
not.
no fiber in
Because,
it. There's no fiber to stabilize it. That's the problem.
correct.
Even when people juice, there's a lot of nutrients in it still, especially if you're drinking it right after like a cold press. This is what Mom taught me. She gave me her cold press juice. She said, no, you can't blend up and heat up your stuff because it'll kill the nutrients. So cold pressed juice is good, but all the pulp comes out. So remember I talked about fiber and those complex carbs. That's what stabilizes sugar. And so you need that in order to kind of stabilize the hormones and for things to process slowly instead of all over the place.
Well, I tell you this, you two need to write a book, basically. I would encourage you, Janice, and
We're
you,
probably
Tracie. Huh? You said
we're
you're
going
working on a book? Is that
to
what my ears heard?
book, but I tell her this all the time. I said we need to record our conversations. Sometimes our conversations are like 2 hours, and we'll not be talking about environmental toxins or mold or child nutrition. Like we talk about all the things, and I keep telling her that she needs to put her stuff out there. I was like, I'll just hop on and we'll just have a conversation, like a podcast and record it because
Yeah, and
she
record, and then you can transcribe it later. Come on, Janice. Okay, that's all I'm saying. The information you're sharing is too valuable. And then you had talked about also how to therefore go forward in a more organic or holistic way of doing this. Because now, if you look at ingredients, a lot of the stores now, when I pick up a package, you know what the sign I look for? Bioengineered ingredients. And as much
Yes.
as I used to love the cookies or whatever the case is, I don't buy them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you? And what does it mean to you, Tracie, when they say bioengineered ingredients?
Well, for me, bioengineered basically means that they've tampered with it. Um, they've genetically modified that plant.
Why would they do that though?
Well, sometimes it's for volume, so that the plant produces a lot more. But when that plant produces a lot more fruit or whatever, what suffers is the nutrient content in that plant. Um, so so I'm and there's a lot that goes into bioengineering, a lot that goes into that. But I would say what you're doing is absolutely on point to steer clear of anything that is bioengineered.
But
Or
that's almost hard nowadays, the cookies, everything. And I'll just pick up a package just out of curiosity if I'm in a store. And when I look, the letters are teeny tiny. If you
yeah.
don't know how to look for them, it's I'm just saying, what's the thing about this bioengineered ingredients? Why is that so significant?
So I think that a lot of people are on information overload. One of the things that I try to do and have done pretty successfully is to teach people these little shortcuts, and they don't have to know everything, right? The ins and outs of all of that. You just need to know how to go in a grocery store and read a label to look for maybe 3 basic things, right? That are deal breakers. And how to shop the store. You shop the perimeter, which is where the fresh produce is. And you shop there first and you maximize that before you go down the aisles. Because let's face it, everything in those aisles is processed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more than likely full of chemicals, GMOs, bioengineered, if it's in those aisles, right? Now, I'm in the
But
supermarket.
people love
Like,
those aisles, though, Janice.
I know, I love them too, but I've learned how to shop them. Like, I
Mm.
will go down the canned foods aisle
Hmm.
and go to the section on beans because beans are a superfood.
Uh-huh.
They are a superfood, and people sleep on beans. Um, I go there and canned, but it's in a can, right? So to some degree, those beans are processed. Now I do cook a lot of my beans dry. I buy them dry and I cook them from scratch in the
Hmm.
pressure
Like
cooker.
lentil or something. Yeah.
Yes, I have a bean cabinet. um, but there's certain beans that I will buy in a can because I know by reading the label that first of all it's organic. Second of all, it's those beans were pressure cooked before they went in the can. What does that mean? Well, it means that these little things called lectins that like to chew up your intestines and your gut, a lot of people are sensitive to those lectins. If you pressure cook a bean, it strips out those lectins. I happen to be one of those people who are sensitive to lectins. So if I'm going to buy a bean in a can, it's going to be a certain brand of bean. There's only one I know of that um, pressure cooks those beans before they go in the can. And they do not add any salt to those beans in that can. So I will buy that can. Um, Now, I've had the luxury of, especially since I'm retired since 2016, I live in the grocery stores. I'm in the grocery stores 3 or 4 times a week because I'm learning. Every time I go in there, I learn something new. And I like to keep abreast of what is new on the market, what is new in the grocery store, what are they pushing now, but if you're careful, you can find some new things in stores that are amazing. That
Mhm.
the things that are being offered now in grocery stores, but you got to look for them.
You and Tracy really need to write a book. There
I
is
think
no excuse.
one of the quick things that she taught me was 5 ingredients. So she's just like, you're right. Anything packaged is going to be processed, stripped of nutrients, and they try to put it back in there. Whatever they try to do, it's not good. Your body is going to see it as foreign and not know what to do with it. But if you can, what I try to do is for those like snack alternatives, like if you want something crunchy, like a chip or something, sometimes we'll like let's say it's a cassava flour, chip. If it has cassava flour, garlic, salt, and one other ingredient, that's good. That's fine. It's still processed, but it's got stuff in there that you know. If it has a whole bunch of ingredients that you can't pronounce, then chances are it's not good. And you have to look in the other ingredient section too, because like you said, that little small area where, because people will look at the label, but then
Yep.
where other, you're going to see citric acid, you're going to see all these different things. So people just have to pay attention. Like you said, shop the perimeter, whole foods if you can, meats, eggs, if you eat meat, if you eat dairy. If it's got one ingredient, try to incorporate those as much as possible and less processed food. The problem is that people have this, thing where they're 80% of the time they're eating fast food or eating out or eating processed, and then they try to throw in a salad or vegetable maybe 10 to 20% of the time, and that's what's leading to the issues we have. It's the standard diet. It's hard when you grow up like that and that's how you eat. It's hard to just change, but if you have a reason and you've made a decision to do that, you take the, like she said, small steps to change one thing at a time, and eventually, it becomes to where you don't even want those things. Can I
You know
speak to
what?
the can I speak to
Go
the
ahead.
sugar part real
Please
fast?
do.
I want
Please
to
do.
add, when you're detoxing from sugar or trying to get off of sugar. I don't know if mom remembers, but when I went to the Institute, for Integrative Nutrition, right?
Mhm.
And we're learning a different topic every week. It was a nutrition program where I started coaching after that. And I was in like grind, overwork mode because I had my son in nursing school and mom helped me, do all the things. I was doing all the things. And so I wasn't as healthy. So what I did was I started with one thing. And I think the first thing was water. They taught us about water, clean sources of water, the importance of it, what it does in the body. And so I was like, Ma, okay, I know I'm dehydrated. I'm going to focus on getting enough water for 30 days. So I did that. And then, the next, week or two, we were talking about greens as a superfood and all the different superfoods. So I started adding more nutrients in my diet. I think it took me about 9 months to maybe a year, but by the end of that program, I was in so much better health. Like I had way more energy, skin was better. I was much more balanced. And so people have to realize that even if you focus on one thing at a time, it takes you that long sometimes to just get it down as a habit, as a new habit, and then you can layer it on. Because one of the things that she said that's important is like figuring out, like writing out what you're eating and being aware of where the sugar is at. That's really the first step. So if anybody's trying to figure that part out, you have to, like I tell people to do a food log, maybe for 5, I would say at least a week, to do a food log, write down everything you're eating and see where that sugar is at. Once you're aware of where it's at, then you can say, okay, well, I'm drinking soda 3 times a day or whatever. Then just start with that. Don't worry about the other sugar part. Just focus on this.
In other words, do it in stages. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, because then you can say, okay, instead of drinking 3 sodas, I'm going to drink 1. So you inch your way. That is the easier way to do it. The second part, that this is the last thing that I want to note, is that you have to understand why you're eating the sugar. Because a lot of times people don't realize, right?
Absolutely.
People stress eat. People have hormonal fluctuations. They have nutritional imbalances. And what I just mentioned, dehydration. A lot of people are eating sugar and they're really just dehydrated. Like certain cravings, you're not really needing that thing. Like if you're craving something, it's because your body is doesn't have enough nutrients, which makes sense because I just told you 80% of the time people are eating dead food. So, it's all connected. And this is where it comes with the holistic part, is that it's more than just eating the right foods. It's understanding what's going on in your body that's causing you to want the sugar. And then when you can address that, it's a little bit easier to then make those real world changes.
This is the most fascinating topic. And in fact, I want to have your back in November before Thanksgiving. I don't want to kill nobody's joy.
Mm-hmm.
But Thanksgiving is when people overeat, overload on sweet potatoes and sweet potato pies and everything like that. And it's not to take more of the fun out of it, but if you're going to do it in a way that's more nutritional, for lack of a better way of saying it, Janice.
Yeah. There's so many ways to make those switches less painful, right? And people can navigate their ways to wellness in ways that it doesn't necessarily have to be that painful. So when you make a substitute, the sweet potato pie, right? I love my sweet potato pie at Thanksgiving. Yeah, who doesn't? So you have a couple of options. Instead of eating a whole piece, eat a half a piece, just a tiny slice of it, right? Or you can not eat any of it and decide that you're going to make something with sweet potatoes, a dessert that doesn't have all of the sugar that a sweet potato pie has in it. Right? And so you don't have to again, like I said before, if you're going to take something away, have something available to slide right in that slot, so you're not feeling deprived. Because the fact is, the minute you start feeling deprived, it's an uphill climb. And if you can steer
So
clear
you're saying in part, actually, Janice, it's psychological too.
Absolutely, it's psychological. That's what Tracie was alluding to, is that this goes really deep. It goes deep. I mean, she and I have had this conversation as well about, people will come to she or I, and it's like we realize we can't really help people until they get to a certain point of feeling. One of the things is, do I deserve to be healthy? Right? Am I worthy to be healthy? Or
That
am I
involves
just desperate
self-love.
and or I'm a single mom and of course I have to sacrifice my health because I'm a single mom. So I'm not supposed to be healthy. I'm supposed to. So there's a lot deeper levels to this, and that's where again having somebody to sort of talk you off the ledge, first of all, because most people who are looking to do this, they're on a ledge, right? They've gotten to a place where that they don't like, and they don't want to jump off. So they're looking for somebody to pull them back off that ledge, and it's a delicate dance. It's a delicate dance. You can't. And I did a post today on my LinkedIn page about this, about tackling the little things first. And when you see a client who has this glaring habit that is really it goes against all the health rules, right? It's really not a good habit. The worst thing you can do is try and work with that client to tackle that one first. Right?
That makes sense.
Because
That makes sense.
because
That's the
they're
strongest hook.
holding on, and those are the ones, especially the ones that they've had for years and years and years, they're holding on to those for dear life. You're not going to wrench them out of their hands right off the bat. So shelf that one, right? You'll get to it. But the trick to it is do the low-hanging fruit, get them starting to feel better, sleep better, think clearer. And if they hang in there long enough, the justification they gave themselves for hanging on to that habit will disappear. So you no longer have to tackle that big one that they were, because they're now in a place in their life, they're feeling better, they're more confident. You've done the little things. You've gotten them to drink more water. You've gotten them to take a 15 to 20 minute walk every day, right? You've gotten them to to learn mindfulness, how to stop for twice a day and look out a window and close your eyes, or sit and close your eyes. You've gotten them to do a lot of little things. And by doing that, they're now, the light bulbs are starting to go on that, wow, all I did was that, and now I'm feeling this way. What else could I do?
Well,
And so by the
this is
time you get to that big, nasty habit that is making a big difference in their health, they will walk away from it themselves. They'll walk away from it themselves.
What is so significant about the year, numerically speaking, as my moderator Jazz Aphrodite expressed, we're going what is called into a one universal year. That is, we take 2026, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 is 10 or 1. So anytime you want to start something new that has impact, it's like planting the seeds that last. This is the time to start. The fact that I brought you on here in this month of October, which is like the preview to the year, I think that a lot of people can be helped between you two ladies. That is for sure. And actually, I want people to begin to get in contact with you now. There's interesting because one person, along with Charlene Adams, up that says, what about sugar like in dates or fruits? Are these good sugars? Can one eat too much? Like grapes or oranges or apples or peaches or cantaloupes or whatever the case is, anything that has a yes, Janice.
That's a great question. Dates are, in my mind, a superfood. They truly are.
What is your definition of a superfood?
A superfood is something that Tracie used the word before, nutrient dense. It's got a lot of bang for its buck, right? So you don't have to consume a lot of it because it's jam-packed. with a lot of good stuff, good vitamins, flavonols, antioxidants. That's a superfood. And for those who are listening, if you want to get a quick idea of what a nutrient dense food is or superfood, just Google it.
Mhm.
List, give me the top 10 nutrient dense foods yeah, list the top 10 nutrient dense foods. And I did this exercise just recently, and I clicked on the first three links that came up. And sure enough, they gave the list, and I wrote that list down, and I compared those three lists to see what were the common foods on each list coming from three different sources. And what that told me is those are really they're the real deal ones, right?
Well, listen, I'm on the edge. Can you give us some of those examples of what this
Don't
foods are
don't
other than
ask
dates?
why
Tracie,
did you know what? I must have ESP because I was going through my files and I said, you know what? This may come up. I have them right here.
Very good. And if you can repeat them for prosperity, that would be great. At least we can get people started in the right direction.
So I'm going to give you the ones that were on all three lists: spinach,
Mhm.
blueberries, broccoli, salmon, sardines, black beans,
Hmm.
eggs, avocados. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8. What are the other two? Oh, kale and collard greens.
Can you repeat that list one more time, please?
Sure. Spinach, blueberries, broccoli, salmon, sardines, black beans, eggs, avocados, kale, and collard greens.
What's interesting, Mom, is you eat all of those probably every week.
Oh, absolutely, I do.
Yeah. So this is the thing. It's like I really want people to, with that list and with just Whole Foods in general. This is why you have to take inventory for yourself. If you don't eat any of those foods, then we're going to challenge you to at least try to incorporate one or two of those foods in your diet
Yes.
this week. And that's how you start. You have to figure out what is going to fuel your body. Your body recognizes live nutrients. So all of those things are live, berries, those compounds and those fruits and vegetables, it knows what to do with it. It's like, oh, because your body is living cells, right? Your body regenerates new cells all the time. They're living, your body's living, of course. So if you're putting dead food in it, of course it's going to see it as foreign. So that's why you have to put whole, live, living foods in your body. It's really not rocket science. It's actually very simple. It's the mental part that people have to get over. That's all. Everybody knows we're supposed to eat whole food, but I won't say everybody. Most people know that whole foods is what we're supposed to, plants, fruits, berries, all the things. A little bit of clean sources of beef or chicken if you do that. So whole foods, one ingredient. That's what our body thrives off of. But like you said, because all the things are always available that are packaged and processed and sugary and those things, we get used to that, and so we get away from whole food. So yeah, try to incorporate those things. Those all of those are staples in our diet. Walnuts, like I said, chia seeds.
Tracie, would you add sweet potatoes in there?
Oh yeah, I just bought 3 of those today. I put cauliflower. Yeah, like I'm like we're around the perimeter, right? I'm
Now,
like,
you
what?
don't mean sweet potatoes in a can, right, ladies?
No,
No, no, no.
Yeah, I thought so. Just want to make sure.
yeah, I just bake them. You can. I mean, it's so easy. Mom knows I don't. I'm not even a cook. I didn't even like cooking, but I've learned to eat this is the other thing. People think you have to know how to cook. You don't, because mom will tell you I burn a lot of stuff. But I eat very healthy because I learned how to make it simple. I learned, I mean, Whole Foods, you don't have to do a lot to it. You can bake it, roast it, pan cook it. I mean, if you're doing vegetables, but, so beans, there's only so many, you can put it in a crock pot. You can make things very simple by using fresh whole herbs, spices, ingredients, and it tastes so good. So yeah, those are the things we help people with. Mom is the cook person. I am more so the coach, the mentor, I give food tips and all those things too, but she is that part. She has her wonderful.
I tell you, I gotta have your back next month before the Thanksgiving holiday. I haven't looked, it don't matter. But what we put in our bodies, there's this book that came out in the 60s, or actually late 60s, 70s, by Elijah Muhammad, called How Eat to Live, number 1 and 2, about the way you eat, the time you eat, what you put in your body. It makes all the difference in the world.
It does.
Because I understand the digestive process. I'm going to let y'all go in a minute, but this is one of my favorite subjects about health and nutrition. But the body, I understand, let's say you eat a nice meal. It takes the process is about 8 to 12 hours. Would that be correct, ladies? Would I be in the ballpark?
For complete digestion?
Yes. If I ate a one solid meal.
I would say that's about right. Yeah.
So now here's the scenario. You get up in the morning, you go to Starbucks or wherever your favorite place is, get your coffee, chocolate, donut, whatever the case is. Then about 4 or 5 hours later, you're at work. Now you got to take a break for lunch. Okay. You got to eat something. And then about 5 or 6 hours later, you're now home, and then you got to make a meal. Well, when does the body have time to rest? So my attitude is, you sit on it, it's on you. Am I making sense, ladies? With this?
Yeah, and that's why people intermittent fast, because you give your body a longer time to be resting from having to, because when digestion takes effort, right? So when as soon as you give it food, it's got to go to work. And so if you're waking up at like 6 a.m., you're giving it food, and then 3 hours later, you're giving it food. All throughout the day, you're giving it food all day until it's not a lot of time. And then people really don't even get good sleep. And that's when your cells actually really start detoxing. But it makes sense what you're saying. You do need to give it time. And also,
do you know what day Thanksgiving is on for November?
Thursday, right? It's usually on
I know it's on a Thursday. I'm trying to look. Is it on the 20th? That seems too early. Or the 27th?
It's on the 27th.
Yeah.
Good. I'd like to have you on that Monday on the 24th. This is something I rarely do, which is make a commitment online about bringing you back. Would that be okay with you two ladies?
I'm happy to do it.
Tracie?
I work that day till 7:30.
Okay. How about on the 19th, the Wednesday?
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, I've locked y'all in. We're going to be doing a part 2. And it's not to take away the joy of anybody's Thanksgiving and celebration. My attitude is to be more intelligently, holistically, and nutritionally as you go into it, if that makes sense, ladies.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love it if there's a particular subject that you or your tribe would like us to zero in on. I'd be happy to zero in on something specific, or we could still keep it general, but that's, I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. I like to kind of keep it general,
and my mind will go from there. That's kind of how I do things on the fly.
Yeah.
but I know there's going to be enough promotional leading into that. I'll see something that I'll just add to the questions, but we'll kind of take off from where we left at this point and then move further, because isn't salt just as bad as sugar?
I'm going to say actually no.
Yeah.
Excellent.
No, it's
Okay.
not.
We
Salt.
need, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Trace.
Yeah, we need salt so the water can get in the cells. We need the right kind of salt, Mom's probably gonna say. Um,
Yes.
yeah, she taught me about Celtic salt, which now I put a little bit of that under my tongue before I drink my water because it has a lot of minerals in it. And so a lot of
Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting. See,
yeah,
this is what I'm saying. This is
yeah,
exactly what I'm saying. Okay.
yeah.
See, those
See,
are the hacks that I'm
she's
talking
probably like,
about.
don't tell all of them.
No. Well, in fact, that will be the topic in November 19th. What are the hacks going into the holidays?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough,
Okay.
ladies?
Fair enough.
Fair enough. All right. With that, I'm going to let y'all go, but let me tell you this. Please reach out to Janice Montague. She's the New Hope Nutrition and Wellness. Her IG is Montague 3662. Her email is janice.montague, MONTAGUE 0890 at Gmail. And please listen, feel free to contact her, not to wear her out now, okay? No long conversations. Just say, listen, I heard you on the show. She may have a basic question. And support these ladies through the Cash App. Hers is $Janice M1206. Okay. But her contact number is 443-494-9454, 9015. And as for her daughter, bless her soul, Tracie, she is a holistic health consultant. Go to Lincoln. Now, you said there's a shorter way to get directly to your site, Tracie?
They should be able to just search my name and my picture will come up. Tracie Jackson RN. It should come up.
RN. Okay. And she has a Venmo. Please do that at Tracie Jackson 19. Her Cash App is $Tracie Renee. So at least we know your middle name now, Renee. Okay. Good. Ladies, I want to thank y'all so much. This was, I rarely keep somebody on this long, rarely for me, but I think it's so important because this is the time we go into, yes, the holidays, but it's full of food, it's candy, everything. And then we want to know why we're not feeling as well when we start the new year off.
Well, we're going to bring our A game on the 19th, and so that people have a wonderful holiday, but a healthy one as well.
My point exactly.
Yeah,
My point exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you,
closing
Lloyd.
words y'all want to? We'll start with you, Janice. Any closing words?
Just very briefly, start wherever you are. Don't look left, don't look right. Just look at where you are and make a decision. We started talking about decision. Make a decision to start. It's the most important thing.
That sounds like half the battle too.
Absolutely.
Tracie?
I guess my closing words are kind of along the same lines. I want to encourage people to not get overwhelmed by all the information they see, like on social, when it comes to, that there's so much, it's like, oh, you should eat soursop every morning. You should take this. You need vitamin D. It's so overwhelming, and people kind of don't know what's for them. So I encourage people to work with your doctor to understand where your imbalances are specifically. Like, you have to start there. Like I said, the cravings come from a certain thing that's going on in your body. If you're menopausal, certain hormones are off. You can't always look at what everyone else is doing and say, oh, I need that. You have to look like within of what's actually going on with you. And that's where you have to start when it comes to creating certain protocols for yourself. So either work with your doctor, reach out to a coach, or someone who can specifically work with you. Don't get discouraged by all the over information.
Well, I got to tell you this. I need to apologize to my moderator like she ain't got nothing else to do. Jazz Aphrodite, thank you very, very much, because I went way over. But I had a feeling because health is very important. And that's all you got at the end of the day,
Mhm.
really. You know what I'm
It
saying?
is. Absolutely.
If you're not in good health, and now if you're in bad health, well, I don't care if you got $1 million or $2 million. The
Mhm.
health, the cost of getting well through the medical industry will wipe
Mhm.
that out almost in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why work hard to save money to give it back to the medical profession when you can kind of come out being better and enjoy yourself and go where you want? But that's my philosophy. But what do I know? Ladies, I want to thank you very, very much for joining me. I will see you on the 19th of next month where we talk about the hacks that people can learn for their own benefit and welfare. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Lloyd. Much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Thank you, ladies. This was very enjoyable. All right,
Yes.
everybody. I do want to thank you all very, very much. Let me see. Okay. This was great for me. This was really great. I do thank you, Jazz Aphrodite. Thank you very much, too. Um, and I do agree. This is amazing. So let me just be brief about these sponsors. I'll keep it brief in that sense that it's brought to you by Manifest on Purpose with Miss Kimberly. She's got a book that she's written. So go there and to Amazon and do it. Later, she's now added a companion piece to it. Also, King Simon, my buddy, who has an event coming up on the 15th and the 16th, celebrating about 30 years or something in business. I'll be there on that Sunday. Also, it will be at Nicholas Brooklyn at 1396 Fulton Street. They're one of my main sponsors. This is a store you must go and support, believe it or not. I'm telling you, people come in from everywhere, all walks of life into this store. I even met a woman that came in from South Africa this past summer. She has a very special guest coming on this Friday, Brother Dr. Haru. Um, and so, and then on November 1st, she has this author. Hopefully, I can get this author on, Cheryl McKenzie, Daniel. Also, uh, also Uchenna. He's got his book, The Soul Mastery, Soul First, Master 24 Hours, Master Your Life. Also, Melinda Valentine, who is do her numeralytics, is offering her services. And also she's wrote a companion piece to all of these reflecting all the seasons. So on Wednesday, I'll show you the one that reflects water. Right now, we're still in the period of air and then recept. And if you do it, you can get a 35% discount. Just click on the QR code and go from there. And on the 5th of November, on that Wednesday, Jazz Aphrodite and Eric will be telling you about their wonderful workshop they're going to be going to. And for those of you who wish to, please order Jazz Aphrodite's book, Knocking from the Inside. It's available on Amazon. It's available on audio, excuse me. And then what's left of October, please sign on for the free newsletter. And when you get it, go to the top because the way it's designed, you can only go down to about Leo or something like that. But to get the whole interview, if you see at the top right, you'll see where it says click to view the whole, all the signs, and you'll get that. Also, if you don't want to, you can also hear the video that we did for the October forecast. All right, Miss Kimberly and I. So anyway, I do want to thank you very, very much. I will see you on Wednesday. I will be the guest on my show. Righty? All of y'all have a nice day. Until then, y'all please take care of yourselves because let me see something here. Here we go. Everybody, have a nice day. Thank you. And thank you very, very much to Janice and her beautiful daughter, Tracie. This was a wonderful, insightful thing for me anyway. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.